My year has been a complete whirlwind. 15M, incoming 10th grader here. Hello, Reddit. I really needed to get all this off my chest because, Lord, I've been through a lot. Some background on people. C. Girlfriend J, friend M, best friend. 2023 was an amazing year for me, compared to the years before, with quarantine and all. During the pandemic, I had been left behind by many of my close friends, and one of my best friends moved away and cut contact with me shortly after. I met C in 7th grade, entered the talking stage, and things clicked really well in April of 8th grade. The summer and the remaining half of the year after were the most magical of my life. She was kind to me and understood me better than anyone, which would soon, unbeknownst to us, become part of our downfall. Before the start of high school, M, who had been my close friend of 8 years at this point, had been separated from me to a different school since 3rd grade. We finally reunited in high school, and I also introduced C to J, another longtime friend of mine. C was friends with many of my friends, and would bond with more of them as she was on the track team like many other in my group. Near the start of January 2024, my mental health started to decline severely. I was incredibly anxious about my birthday, as bad things often happened on that day. C, being the empathetic and wonderful person she was, felt my pain through my venting and change in behavior. I got a brand new pair of shoes I had wanted for half a year for my birthday, boosting my morale a bit. Sadly, they were stolen a week later, and I had to buy a replacement pair with my own money. While my mental health became relatively stable after, it was the start of a massive snowballing decline in my confidence, physical health, mental health, and the health of my relationship with C. We celebrated Valentine's Day together, which went by wonderfully, and the rest of February went by rather happily. In March, I performed well in my sport, and we attended a school dance together. Things were well, but my physical health began to decline. Injuries stacked up. The resulting mental battle was reflected on both me and C, something that would start to show in increasingly larger portions. I would start to display symptoms of severe anxiety and depression, yet decline my girlfriend's request for me to see a therapist because I explained how my parents used to threaten me by sending me to a mental doctor whenever I started crying as a child. I would come to regret this severely, as I should have built a wider support network so that C wouldn't have to carry all the pressure. Sadly, I didn't come to realize this until it was too late. In April, I began to perform very poorly in fencing. Regrettably, every time I did poorly, I would text her things like, "I'm so terrible, I shouldn't have started doing this," or, "This is literally meaningless, why am I even trying?" I never apologized for speaking like this to her, and I never considered how she felt whenever I was like this. I had to almost drop out of our anniversary hangout because my schedule changed last minute, but successfully was able to change the time and location so that I could go. Sadly, this location wasn't compliant with something she really wanted to do, and she was noticeably toned down in character. Like the idiot I am, I never once considered her feelings and thought everything was fine. During school, I became extremely distant to all of my friends and C, which began to take a further toll on C's health. She expressed to me how she felt like every time I came up to her, it seemed like I was pissing her off. I was not able to communicate properly to her that I was just not feeling it lately, and quite unjustly justified my actions. She started to hang out with a new group, which included J, and they got quite close. I never once considered talking to anybody. My current friend group was beginning to cast me out, seemingly for mistakes that I had made a year ago, which I had been told I had made up for. The worst thing is, I was the one who brought them all together 2 years prior. It was rather damaging to me that the people I tried to bring together to become friends were leaving me behind and treating me as if I were below them. At first it was small, things like talking differently to me or ending conversations completely whenever I spoke. It would later escalate into full-on ignoring me and trying to keep me away from the main group at Hangouts. Talks with C about this concern turned into her expressing how I needed to contact a professional, which I continued to refuse. We began to fight. I believe my insecurities, self-pity, and refusal to take advice were the cause. If I had just listened to her, and considered her opinion like one should in a relationship, I think things would be different. My symptoms began to elevate. I was quick to anger, chronically tired, and unmotivated. In May, things got worse and my symptoms began to leak out and start to hurt people, especially C. I would lash out sometimes, once calling her an idiot for a small mistake, which I didn't apologize properly for. Our fights became more frequent and increasingly aggressive. Never once did I stop and think about her. All I did alluring our arguments was continuously rant about how sad and mad I am at people without accepting any advice from her. I understand her feeling extremely sad and demoralized, as she would later communicate. Now, I didn't do so in time. I began to take her increasing bond with her new friends as her separating from me, instead of cherishing her new friends and being happy for her. One day, I blew up in anger after her friends stole her phone, something she had expressed displeasure towards in the past. I thought I was doing the right thing, telling them to stop and to cut it out. Sadly, it came out rather aggressively, and she assured me it was okay, that it was just a joke. For some dumb reason, I was fuming, and stormed off to calm down without an ounce of remorse and without an apology to see. Near the end of May, things improved. We talked things out and our relationship and mental health began to improve a little. But the damage was already done. One morning, she texted me that she wanted to break up. She wasn't feeling happy like she used to with me, and thought it best if we did not continue the relationship. She could not be my support network anymore. It had taken too large a toll on her. My dumb failed to acknowledge this, begging for her to stay, reasoning that she was the only person I had left since my friend group was growing distant. I kept asking, where do I go? And what do I do, see? Again, never once did I consider how further pushing my struggles into her hurt her. The night after, I attempted suicide through Tylenol overdose. It did not work. It only hurt her more and more. I contacted a defunct friend to talk it out. After several days of crying and hurting, we believed it would be best to continue talking, but without any venting or anything like that. It was wonderful for a while, but bits of my pity continued to leak through, and she had to cut all contact with me so she could heal, and so I could move on. I heavily disagreed at first, but after calming down, reasoned it was for the best. I went through a period of self-reflection and finally began to realize my mistakes. I hated myself for not noticing in time. I hated myself for not seeing the blatant, obvious signs of her mental decline and only acknowledging mine. It helped me a lot through all these struggles, and our bond has been strengthened by it. Little by little, I began to heal, finding precious happiness again in the things I love doing, changing up my style, planning several side hustles, and beginning to improve my body. Tonight, I see signs on her socials that she had started to get with Jay. I know I should not have been looking at her socials, but sentiment got to me. I'm still an immature teenager coming out of a breakup. A mix of emotions took me over. Happiness, as she had always seemed so much happier with Jay, and the beauty of two of my friends finding love in each other, and sadness. For the way she moved on so fast, catching feelings for someone else so soon after seeming so authentic with me. It made everything feel rather fake. It was as if they were planning this all along. Then, the familiar sting of people I helped bond together go off their own ways, without me. I haven't talked to anybody about it yet, since it isn't 100% confirmed they're dating, but I will when I get the chance. I'm sorry for any holes in my story. It's late, I need rest, and it was a lot to tell. Thank you for listening, and wish me luck on my road to self-improvement and my future endeavors.